More perfect union. What are you cooking? I took Bernie into deep Trump country. Can he win them over? Holy shit. No kidding? Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, he's smurfing. That was a good vid. I don't want to content steal, man. This came out less than 24 hours ago.
More as I used to, but I did vote for Trump.
Really?
But I did post on my Facebook page, instead of I voted, I put I vomited because I didn't want to, but I didn't, you know. Yeah. It is what it is.
I voted Republican. I agree with some things of Trump, but most I do not right now. Right. I do not, no.
Wow, you're so special. That's so bold of you to be like every other Trump supporter who distances themselves from all of the actual, like, consequences of the stuff that he does, but still, nonetheless, unrepentantly votes for him.
John, what's that like for you?
Well, this is my first time voting because I was just turned 18 right before I was able to vote. So I voted for Trump, but I'm primarily a Democrat.
Senator, who'd you vote for?
That was your first election. What data are you possibly using to determine that you are generally a Democrat? Where are you getting that from?
It wasn't Trump. Let me throw out a question. Yeah. You are living, shock of all shocks, in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. Do you feel that down here?
No. People are not surviving. We just had our food bank yesterday. We usually pack for 80 people. We served 102 yesterday. It is getting worse. Nobody's surviving right now.
My husband works at the hospital.
Well, you did vote for this.
And there are several ODs every single day.
You voted for that too.
Yeah, we're not a big town.
Several ODs every day?
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask you this, and you may not know the answer, nobody does, because again, this is not just the West Virginia issue, we got it terrible in Vermont. So why are people doing drugs?
Bosch forgets normal people are dumb and genuinely feel bad at their vote. No, they don't. No, I've run down this cycle before, dude. They don't. Every Trump supporter does this. Every Trump supporter will vote. Every Trump supporter will engage in all of the performative cruelty associated with the party. But when directly confronted on it, they'll be like, I wouldn't consider myself to be like a Trump guy, but like I did vote for him. And I don't even agree with much of what he did, but I don't regret my vote. And I voted for him in 2016 and 2020. And yeah, I'd vote for him in 2028 if he like ran again. Like it's I've seen a lot of these videos, okay? It's like that every single time. They refuse to take responsibility for their beliefs or their actions.
In my thing that I see, because I work a lot in addiction, is it's mental health issues.
It's what?
Mental health issues.
Lack of jobs.
Lack of jobs, poverty, lack of support for our veterans.
Do you find many veterans doing drugs?
Oh, yes.
And homeless.
And homeless.
And that irritates me. They stood up, they fought for our country, and we can't even afford to give them housing.
I always wondered, how did so many drugs get into this state? Do we have thoughts about that? How did so many? Yeah.
The doctor's pushing it.
Talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, my mother was an addict, and that's how she got addicted. Was
So JD Vance's mother abandoning her baby so she could go pilfer pharmaceuticals from the hospital she worked at, you know? Many such cases.
She had a back injury. The doctor kept prescribing medicine. Eventually, that medicine didn't work, and she had to start doing the harder stuff. Sadly, she passed away from a drug overdose. So, I mean, I understand the addiction part of it.
Yeah.
And it's hard to fight. And addiction just doesn't affect the person that's doing it. It affects.
Again, and like you have to take all this with a grain of salt because again, she voted for Trump and she would do it again. Like that's the problem. There is a total disconnect between the beliefs that people have and the actual political outcomes that they support. Complete disconnect. Because you can hear a person give this like borderline left-leaning spiel for 45 minutes, but it turns out like, okay, what supersedes all of that? They're terrified of blacks. Many such cases, especially in West Virginia. Seriously, like over and over and over again, I've seen this like for years. It's the most recurring like the overwhelmingly this demographic of people, and this is a demographic that has existed for centuries. Okay, this type of person is mobilized towards concern for the poor only when they are poor, concern for the needy only when they are needy, when it's them or their neighbors or their family members, but they will drop all of it out of racial enmity. Racial enmity will motivate them to drop. They voted. The only reason they supported the New Deal was because they were in such dire straits, and they allowed all of the benefits of the New Deal to be siphoned and shaved off because argument after argument was made that it benefited the blacks and the browns as well, the immigrants and so on. You know,
The whole family, the whole area.
Grow up around this kind of poverty long enough.
I feel like you can't just answer every question with a CRT answer. That's not what critical race theory is. It's just like these people overwhelmingly are motivated by racial animus. It's the same reason you get like 100 million Republicans who will say like, you know, Wall Street doesn't care about us. The coastal elites don't care about us. They're just trying to rob us blind, you know? And then they'll vote for Trump, a coastal elite billionaire real estate mogul who is loved on Wall Street, you know? Like you'll get these people who will talk about labor issues, but then they'll be rabidly anti-union off the back of some like Reagan era propaganda about you know, how it's communistic or something. It's so backwards, but it's what we have to deal with. The whole point of convincing people to be racist is to get them to ignore their class interests. After all, I mean, it's a very effective strategy.
And you start to lose faith in the political system that allowed it to happen. While Trump may put up huge numbers at the ballot box, nearly half of West Virginians don't even show up to vote at all. One of the highest non-voting rates in the country.
This is the main thing I've criticized More Perfect Union of or on before, which is that they do these interviews that really humanize these pieces of shit, but they don't ask probing questions. Like, okay, if you think that people with addictions and homeless people are struggling and poor people are suffering and so on and so on, you have all these positions that sound empathetic. Why'd you vote for Trump? And then if you ask 3 clarifying questions, it's almost always a race thing or some kind of like schizophrenic conspiracy bullshit, you know? Bosch has never talked to one of these people IRL at shows. Dude, I have, which is why I know that this right. Okay, you are a urbanite. This is the classic ruroid urbanite divide. This is every urban socialist is like, no, West Virginia, poverty-stricken West Virginian Trump voters are just 2 conversations away from renouncing their position and joining the communists. And people who actually live amongst these people are like, holy shit, tie me to a rocket and fire me at me, okay? Wipe us all out, please God. I hope the vaccination rates drop low enough that the measles sweep across my neighborhood like a plague and wipe us all out, okay? We've done this a million times. There is a deep sickness in honestly rural environments all over the world, because this like chip on their shoulder is pretty common all around the place. But America is, I think we have like a uniquely bad variant of this. Yeah, I'm looking at YouTube chat right now. Yep, here in Texas, and Vosh is right. I live with these people. Vosh is completely right. I live in an area like this. Vosh is correct. Yeah, like again, like don't. I understand that I'm an urbanite here, but like I'm deferring to a common opinion here. Don't engage in like a noble savage perspective on these people. They earn the contempt.
I think the message is not complicated. People throughout the country, especially in rural areas, feel neglected. They are hurting financially. The Democratic Party, by and large,
Like, I could use that money.
Not stealing the whole video.
these people on top, to save government money.
But with the big beautiful bill, his signature piece of legislation, he made his mark on West Virginia. It's estimated that more than 50,000 West Virginians will be cut from Medicaid.
You're not wrong. They're sick. It's the contempt and lack of critical analysis that is going. No, it is critical analysis. You have to understand, like, again, there's nothing about this situation that demands analysis beyond, like, or I guess I should say this. I'll put it this way, okay? By ignoring the fact that they're stupid and racist, you're ignoring the material element here. I reject like the magical thinking that because these people are poor and suffering, they must be noble. I think actually, if anything, it's often the opposite. Socialist natural allies are the educated, the middle class, people who have access to the opportunity to to learn more about the world. In basically every era since the Industrial Revolution, the peasant has been the enemy of social progress, like consistently, country to country, time and time again. Marx knew this, Lenin knew this. Everyone knows this. But for some reason, we pretend otherwise. You know, we act as though like, well, no, no, no. You know, in reality, their poverty gives them like an up close, you know, experience with the things that you would believe would radicalize them. It doesn't. Poor people all around the country find anything and everything but capitalism. And even if they blame wealthy people, even if they blame coastal elites, they don't envision a better system. They envision a system where they're on top. Without education, you know, liberation to these people is just replacing the people on top now. The poor Southerner doesn't envision an end to capitalism. They envision being the owner, the landowner. It takes more. Yeah, the term is lumpenproll. Yeah, but like it's you have to engage with these people where they are.
At least 7 hospitals in the state are at risk of shutting down, and as many as 84,000 people will lose access to food assistance because of this bill.
So in this bill, Trump's big, beautiful bill, why do you think they cut Medicaid? To save government money so that, what?
They can give tax to their donors.
Exactly. It's not only $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1%, it's a huge tax break to large corporations as well.
So why do they need to have a tax break?
All right.
I
Now
could use
you're
a tax
asking
break.
me-
I mean, I'm being real. I know I pay like 26% taxes. Like, I could use that money.
Look, these people on top are not nice people. They want more and more. They don't have $1 million. That's chump change.
Yeah.
And we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars.
Bosch says low-class people are the enemy. True. I wonder if like the French were having conversations like this during the French Revolution, like because every time shit like this goes down, the peasantry are in favor of like the king or whatever. This keeps happening over and over. When socialism and like union organizing was propagating in America in the early 20th and late 19th centuries, again, like the very poor rural whites were overwhelmingly like antagonistic towards those developments, in large part because they feared black people and brown people. It was usually city dwelling and at least somewhat educated whites that were more likely to lean towards like emancipatory thought. How about poor city workers? Being in a city just makes you a better person. Like I've said before, your moral worth as a human being, like in an epistemic sense, is determined by your proximity to a Starbucks. If you're not within a mile of a Starbucks, you're not ensouled. It's unfortunate, but
In some case.
When you live here, it feels like a poor country.
Yeah, well, that's a good point.
I mean, when you say we're the wealthiest, like you said that several times yesterday, and I was like, is it true though? Because like,
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
In aggregate, that's what, look, if we're sitting here.
so what should we do? Is there any hope of changing these people's minds? I think we need to stop romanticizing rural America, because we patronize the fuck out of them. Again, everything worth everything is made in the cities, everywhere. We need to start acting like it. Stop with this patronizing bullshit where we pretend that like Wyoming and the Dakotas are like epicenters of real America. Real America is New York City and Los Angeles, and to some lesser extent other places too. Real America is where American culture is produced, and American culture hasn't been produced by rural areas in over a century. Okay, the closest we get to it is city dwellers worth millions who pretend to be from rural areas to push their country music, you know, and that's like that cynical like pop country trash has not reflected either Americana or rural culture in a very, very, very long time. Though most Americans live in cities? Yes. So then we should urbanize? Yes! How can you blame them for having a backwards frame of mind when they live in a backwards social structure? Like, have you seen what rural America looks like? It's not like a German village where you have like a social element to it or whatever. These are paranoid, scared, delusional people. They live in these rotted, backwards, dilapidated towns. They keep shotguns by their door, partly for the coyotes and partly because they fear MS-13's going to knock on their door one of these days. They don't want to go to a Walmart because they're afraid they're going to get sex trafficked out of the parking lot. I'm sorry, man. Like this, it's sick. It's sick. I have never met a person who's had to live in any of these communities who's defended it. It's only been like patronizing ass suburbs outside of Chicago types, you know? Bosch's vivid imagination there. Dog, it's not an imagination. You can't blame me because you don't know how bad it is. It's literally true. It's not an exaggeration. The mind state of these environments is so bad that to describe them, it does sound like you're crazy, but it's It's like that. You can find people in YouTube and VGG chat who are both like, yeah, I live there. It sucks.
And I'm worth $1 billion, and all of you are broke. You add it all together, you divide
Canceled.
it, we're very wealthy, right? We're all worth $100 million. But I got $1 billion and you got nothing. That's America.
See, again, like, this is where I wish the more perfect union would stop with the mask of infantilization. Like, these people have never heard these arguments before, and I wish they would say, okay, so seriously, why'd you vote for Trump? Because I guarantee you the reason is either race or immigration. Like, it's like literally, I've seen so many of these videos. Race or immigration. Maybe transgenders. Maybe. I live in northeastern Pennsylvania, and Vosh is right. All these people behind closed doors are monsters. Yeah, these are dens of child abuse and pedophilia, and like religious sexual abuse, cults propagating in backwater towns where nobody looks, so there's no scrutiny. These are up places because they've been left to rot, like, and they should rot because they're antiquated. Like, there's no room in the modern world for living like this anymore. It shouldn't exist. But for some reason we idealize it, we romanticize it, we patronize them, we infantilize them. Oh no, you're just socialists in waiting. 2 conversations and you'll move over.
And if I say that I think the United States should do what every other major country on earth does, guarantee health care to all people as a human right, are you going to think I'm a communist and a terrible person?
I think if people listen, if you talk the way that you did, and you're so reasonable, like they've painted you in a bad light, and it actually makes me very angry because, you see things and you believe it. I'll just be honest, I haven't really seen you talk before. I haven't really I don't follow politics that much. And so the last couple days before this, I started watching some of your speeches and I started watching your interviews, and I was shocked. I was like, oh.
Not as bad as they had told you, huh?
This is not how he's portrayed in the media, right?
They're always like this. It's not going to change your behavior. They're always like this, man. They're always like this. They never take any ownership over their positions. They're always bewildered by new information shown to them, as though they weren't active participants in the rot propagating this through this country. You want to round up the peasants and force them into community housing? God, I wish.
Told that the biggest divide in America is between left and right. But Bernie came here to flip that story on its head.
No, but it is, though. Like, it is. It's not 2005 anymore. It's not. We're not living in an era where, like, the Clintonites and the Bush types are pretty similar, and at the end of the day, it's really more of a, like, citizenry versus military-industrial complex / capital, right? Like, we're in a different era now. The right is insane. Every day, the president and his sycophants go in front of cameras and talk about how they want to destroy the Constitution. It's not coded language. They're openly contemptuous of it. And these people are their army. Just because they're stupid and pathetic and poor and suffering doesn't make them any less dangerous. Don't, like, infantilize them. Fascists are often pathetic and lacking in self-awareness. It's a ideology that's like a lamp for the weak moths,
I think that whether you're in rural West Virginia or in Burlington, Vermont, you got the same exact issues. And I think we don't let people divide us up. We got to come together to fight for all of us.
Over 100 years ago.
But they're poor? Yeah, and if they keep getting their way, they'll be poor forever. Like, these people got to choose the president in 2016 and 2020, and look at them. They're dying. They're all going to be suffering from gout and malaria. They're all suffering. Like, they clearly aren't capable of making good choices for themselves, okay? When I say, like, they shouldn't make those choices, I'm doing it for their sake too. It's not like they would be hurt by better governance.
They called us rednecks because striking workers from all different races wore red bandanas around their necks as they fought and died for respect and a living wage.
That was like over a century ago. And also, that's not necessarily the origin of the term. And also, this is kind of whitewashing, don't you think? This reminds me when people are like, this isn't country music, this isn't redneck. Real rednecks hate the cops. No, they don't. They're boot kissers, and they have been for longer than you've been alive. Yeah, this is noble savage fetishization. Like, I promise you, the people you just interviewed in West Virginia are not the type of people who would engage in a multiracial strike and a standoff against the cops. They're cheering as ICE rounds up people who could otherwise work in their field.
That history was mostly erased from our textbooks, but it never went away. It's still here, scattered all across the state, if you know where to look.
Dude, it's rural savage shit, man. I don't like, yeah, go to West Virginia and underneath the like festering shit pit of decay and racism, you'll see the like noble it's noble innards, you know. We're actually like everyone's just a bandanaed revolutionary waiting to fight it. No, they're not, man.
My grandfather fought at Blair Mountain.
Your grandfather fought at Blair Mountain?
Yes.
That's cool.
What do you think this country at this moment needs to learn from your grandfather who fought at Blair Mountain?
Well, you just can't stand and let them.
Bosch is hearing the loudest and worst people and painting everyone here like that. Dude, we're in West Virginia. Are you telling me that the racist Trump supporter is some kind of deeply marginalized minority in this environment?
Step on you. You got to get up and fight.
So that is what our struggle is about, is to take on the greed of these people and say, you know what? You cannot and will not have it all.
Bernie Sanders is 84 years old. He's not running for president. But maybe what he's after is way bigger than one election.
How do we get the corporate wing of...
Again, I listen, if you want life to improve for these people, you have to have the balls to tell them they're wrong. That's all I'm going to say. You do them no favors by pretending like this is as backwards as going over to Afghanistan and pretending that like the backwards tribal, either Taliban or non-Taliban affiliated, like patriarchal practices are just their way of doing things. Oh, no. They're finding their own way. I'm not engaging in this cultural relativist bullshit, okay? I'm not going to pretend inferior cultures like Appalachia are you know, because they're different people living there, that they need to be respected. I don't believe in this shit, all right? It's worse over there. They have bad ideas. We need to fix them.
the Democratic Party, who is just as guilty of taking money from billionaire causes to embrace a progressive working class agenda because it's about time.
What about this kid's t-shirt? The kid's t-shirt's goated. That's good though. That's good. Best thing in West Virginia.
What's your name?
Max.
You're gonna lead it, Max. Look, this state was once one of the strongest Democratic states in the country. And I think people gave up on the Democratic Party because the Democratic...
Vosh is wrong. Won't change no one's mind calling them slurs, saying they should die or move. When the f did I say they should? Well, I mean, the fact that, like, you'll die or move has been, like, an objective fact of West Virginia for decades. I'm not really saying that. It's just kind of true. Like, there's a reason why so many young people leave these towns, and the population of these towns have been decreasing time and time again because they do move, because they don't want to live there, because it's awful. But also, yeah, no, you have to stigmatize this stuff. We're coasting off of a century of this patronizing bullshit where we pretend that this is real America. It's not. Listen, if you can't agree with the statement, real America is New York City, you're not an American. New York City is literally the capital city of America culturally. It is the melting pot. It is the epicenter, okay? Los Angeles close second. It's not a matter of whether or not it's good to live there or whether or not it's affordable to live there. I'm talking about culture. A lot of people pretend that American culture is like in the heartland or something. No, the f it isn't. And as long as we keep pretending that, like, do people do that elsewise? Wouldn't most people agree Paris is the cultural capital of France? I bet if you go over to, like, French farmers, they're like, no, no. And then they'd point to some, like, northeastern province that 5 people live in. And they're like, yeah, see, this is real France. And you have to, like, smack them. I'm not engaging in this delusion here, okay? I'm reminded, as I always am, of Hatsune Miku. Remember when the Twitter craze, the Hatsune Miku, but like from every culture in the world, was going on? And there was this one artist who drew American... Can I find it? American Hatsune Miku? Oh, there it is. Damn, that was like super easy to find. I don't know if this is the exact thing that I was thinking of. But like... And it was a black New Yorker. And the artist got a bunch of hate because people were like, how could that, like, for like obvious reasons, because anime fans plus black person, like, you know, you could kind of expect that. But a lot of people really didn't like the idea that America would be defined through the city that is obviously the most American city in the world. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about right now. Oh, this is the one I saw. That shit looked good. I don't remember what point I was making. This is real America. Vosh is horribly West Coast with this shit. Dude, I don't know what you want. Like 50 people in both chats were like, I have lived in rural America and everything he's saying is correct. You are probably a 16-year-old who lives in the suburbs. You think that if you had had a conversation with the woman in that More Perfect Union video, you could have convinced her to have voted for Bernie. In your mind, you are just one dazzling display of rhetoric away from convincing any one of these poor people that socialism is the optimal ideology for their outcome. And I'm telling you, man, it just doesn't work like that. Anecdotal evidence, Vosh, you should know better, as opposed to anecdotal evidence from a smaller group of people. Well, wait, what's the counter argument here? Well, you idiot. A bunch of people agreeing with you, saying they've lived there and agree with you. That's not evidence. Now, me not saying where I live, but disagreeing with you. You don't want to say where you live. You don't want to say where you live because you know you don't live in a rural area. Don't you? Don't lie to me. It turned into a damn ruraloid section again. Did you see how China just stopped buying our soybeans? Yeah, we've been covering it. It's like an ongoing issue. It's like a real ongoing issue. All of our soybean farmers are about to die. They're dying right now. They're already dead. They're not selling their shit anywhere. Buying it all from Brazil. In 2024, China bought roughly 20% of its soybeans from the U.S., down from 41% in 2016. And now it's all the way down to 0%. U.S. soybeans are about 80 to 90 cents a bushel cheaper than Brazilian soybeans, but China's 23% tariff on U.S. shipments adds $2 a bushel to the cost for importers. Oh, are tariffs bad policy in a global economy? Did we vote for the guy who was going to implement the tariffs just like he did the first time around? Oh, what a mistake. What a mistake. How sad. Eat shit. Roids had it coming. Okay, listen. We've engaged in a lot of performative anti-rural hatred in this stream, and we should, and we'll continue to. But oh my God, do American farmers deserve it. Like, one of the biggest victim groups from Trump's first term were the farmers. He did this before. Actually reaping what you're sowing. It's insane. I can't believe they did it a second time. I can't believe it. Oh my God, man. Yeah, they may have voted for Trump, but at least I got nothing either. Yeah, it's fucking insane. They live in areas where, like, they're completely detached from, like, urban culture war crime nonsense. All of their workers are illegals. They are incredibly vulnerable to tariffs, because of the incredibly thin profit margins that American agricultural exports rely on. It's insane. This video explained why farmers voted for Trump. Yeah, I know why farmers voted for Trump. It's because they're stupid. That's I'm sorry, like it's informed simplicity. Eventually, you have to cut through the chaff and you have to arrive at the conclusion that no one wants to acknowledge it because it's uncivil and because it's like, oh my God, what's the point of political analysis if people are just going to objectively make bad decisions? It's because they are stupid and racist. Why farmers voted for Trump? Why the does this have 500,000 views? Oh, this had better not be like farmer apologia. I'm gonna lose my shit, man. Why farmers voted for Trump?
Hi, I am a farmer, and something we may have been hearing a lot from farmers is we're having a big emergency financially because of the tariffs and the trade war. And something I keep hearing is we were lied to. We didn't think Trump would do this. So as someone who is a farmer and was a farmer during the Trump 2024 election cycle, in fact, I was running for office as Commissioner of Agriculture in my home state of North Carolina. Let me tell you what the conversation...
No, you can already tell by her cadence that she's too educated. This isn't going to be apologia.
Agriculture was actually like. I can't recall anybody who actually thought Trump wasn't going to start a trade war. What do you mean we were lied to? Everyone knew this was going to happen. Because for one thing, he was running on starting a trade war with China again. And for another, he already did it once. Everybody knew this was going to happen. Everybody in agriculture knew this was going to happen. And as someone who's a farmer and not necessarily aligned politically with most farmers, I found that kind of confusing, just like most people do. Oh, I should mention,
this is this video is going to be agreeing with our perspective. I hate watching videos of people who agree with me. All I can really do is watch and go, yep, Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. God, look at this shit, man. Socialism for me and not for thee. I'm gonna kill myself? No! If you kill yourself, then you can't work and contribute taxes that the federal government can redistribute to farm workers. If you kill yourself, how are they supposed to get their subsidies? Oh my God, is that how big cows are? I'm sorry, I'm a city slicker. That's huge.
The 2025 All-American Dairy Show continues today in Dauphin County. It's day 4 of 5 for the event.
These cows aren't that big. That was a big cow. These cows are smaller. Maybe?
At the PA Farm Show complex in Harrisburg. Organizers say the show features nearly 2,000 of the top dairy cattle, shown by more than 1,000 of the best exhibitors in the U.S. and Canada. And although the show spotlights cows and ribbons, behind the scenes, some dairy farmers say they're facing tough choices about their future. Fox 43's Sydney Nauman explains how the workforce shortage is weighing in on family farms.
At the All
You said, hey, what did I just say about watching videos where I agree with the content?
American Dairy Show in Dauphin County, farmers come for competition, community, and for a chance to share concerns. No matter where they're from, those concerns sound similar. On Michael Wolf's dairy farm in New York, tradition runs deep, more than 200 years deep, and keeping the family legacy alive has never felt harder.
We have one full-time employee, but the rest of it is all family.
Across the U.S., farmers are scrambling to fill jobs. According to Pew Research Center, immigrant workers make up nearly 1 in 5 of all laborers, but their numbers dropped by more than 750,000 between January and June.
It's always a little trick to find good people. To financially pay them enough to keep them happy. The government's not really interested in the family farm anymore because it's not efficient enough, so it just boils down to economics.
Farms in Pennsylvania are feeling a similar squeeze. In Bucks County, Sharon Bishop's family has been farming for 6 generations. Like Wolf, she says keeping the farm running means leaning on family and a few trusted hands.
We work a lot with part-time help.
It really is like so f***ed up how much effort we as Americans, both the people and the politicians, have put into pretending that this backwater ass, like, dying lifestyle is true Americana. Like this, like the idea that like middle America, salt of the earth, Kansas, corn-fed so-and-so, when like 99.9% of anything worth anything is happening in cities, which has been the case since the Industrial Revolution, you know?
We're thankful for the part-time help we have, but we also have to be careful because the margin's tight.
To fill the gap, more farms are turning to the H-2A visa program, allowing farmers to hire for...
They produce food? Not really, no. Like 80% of the shit they produce is alfalfa to feed, like, factory animal slaughter. Like genuine, like a lot of your food needs are not even being met. Yeah, it's a lot of it's just like livestock bullshit, you know, so that you can get your $1 burger patty from McDonald's. Also, yeah, grocery stores produce food, you idiot. Whoever went to a farm to get food?
Workers for temporary agriculture jobs. The U.S. Department of Labor says requests are up 65% since 2017. Now lawmakers in Washington are weighing reforms to streamline that process. Labor is just one piece of the puzzle. Wolf and Bishop say the future also depends on training the next generation.
Wait, you can actually buy burgers in the U.S. for $1? You could under Obama, probably not anymore. Obama believed in $1 burgers. I still can't believe this shit, man. The U.S. agriculture workforce fell by about 7% between March and July. That is insane. Insane. Total immigrant labor fell by 750,000. So many of those people were in agriculture. Jesus Christ. 7% is nuts. 7% is colossal. I encourage you to finish Farm One's video. She makes a lot of good points. Yeah, but I don't watch videos to make good points. Otherwise, it'd be like, hey, have you seen this Midas Touch video? Hey, have you seen this Climate Town video? You'd agree with it. I'm like, okay, all right, I guess this will be 40 minutes of the stream. Good points. My market is bad points. Put that shit on my plate. Joker putting in a call. Sorry, my light bugged out. Joker putting in a call. Yes, I'd like a Gordon Ramsay show where he only goes to competently run restaurants. Chuds have been arguing that everything would be fine if farmers just paid nice white boys higher wages to attract them. Dude, there is nothing I would love to see more than an organized effort to get, like, Gen Z MAGA neo-Nazis to return with a V out there in the fields. Like, we're going to reclaim the American heartland. Yeah, the blacks can keep Detroit. we're gonna go to Idaho. And then they're all just suffering. That'd be funny. Oh my god. I need a source. On rural areas being shit, couldn't you use, like, literally any demographic data? GDP per capita, their voting patterns, crime rates. What would you go with? Teen pregnancy rates, yeah. FYI, the French Revolution definitely confronted the rural-urban divide. It was horrific. Well, yeah, this happens, like, every time. Again, like, there's a reason Marx believed you needed an industrial revolution before you could have socialism, and a huge part of that wasn't just, like, making the markets more efficient or whatever, making the systems more efficient. It was also because the peasantry, like, peasant people, are very dumb. Of course they are. They live in pig shit. Living in cities and everything that exposes you to, getting a basic education, these things make you way, way, way more likely to understand where socialism is coming from. The peasants in France supported the king. They were low IQ, man. They were like, I don't get it. The king has a big fancy hat and he's protected us. Every once in a while, a crier would come to town and say the king did something good for us. Why would we go against the king? Didn't the peasants of France, like, try to revolt against revolutionary Paris and Napoleon blew them up in the city center or something? I don't know as much about what happened with Napoleon, but yeah, the peasants of France did not like the French Revolution. It's not just that the Parisians basically did genocide on anyone who wasn't embodying the new French nationalist ideal. Oh yeah, well, the French revolutionaries were getting wacky with it. Yeah, they were, like, pretty silly with it. That's definitely true. What is the solution? I really just think we need like a project of mass urbanization. Really, like, so much of America is economically dead and useless. It sucks to live there. Nothing is produced there. I'm not just talking about farmers. I mean, like West Virginia, for example. A bunch of these communities are just dead. Like, there's no, they're worthless, right? People don't like living there, and they don't produce anything for anybody. We need to consolidate our population, be a lot more aggressive, bring it together. It's much as, you know, economic forces did this back in the early days of, like, industrialization, right? Like, people were economically incentivized to stop farming or sharecropping and move north and go into the factories. The problem is that nowadays, like, people are comfortable enough that rather than starving to death, people living in antiquated, worthless farm plots that don't do anything can just sort of sit there and rot rather than die, so they don't move. We don't have that, like, very clean push and pull that used to bring people into the cities. That still exists in plenty of places, by the way. In China and India, the economic incentives to urbanize exist in a much stronger fashion because those countries are poorer. There are a lot of places in, like, Western China or Southern India where it's like you can live in a rural area, you can choose to stay rural and die, or you can take a shot in the city. Obviously, it's a pretty cruel process. I think that with the wealth in this country, we could probably sort of facilitate it a little bit more cleanly than just kind of, like, you know, carrot and stick, the stick being starvation. But we do need to do something about the fact that a significant portion of the population lives in what is like a vestigial dead end of this country, you know? And we need to stop infantilizing them, okay? They're stupid and they like evil things. Hold on, wait, I almost missed a really good one from chat. Bosch is doing to rural people what Charlie Kirk would do to urban black folks. That's true. We can just run with that. That's cool, man. I'm not arguing with a 16-year-old from the suburbs outside of Chicago. I don't need to engage with that. That's fine. Whatever you prefer. People get so defensive. They get so defensive over this, and I don't know why. It's not like the ruraloids would be defensive about, you know, any of the horrendous policies they support. At least the stuff I support makes their lives better. They just want to make their and your lives worse. Who's going to do the rural work if they're all gone? I got a bad news for you, buddy. No one in West Virginia is working. There's no work happening. There's no a huge amount of these, like, there is farmland out there, but a lot of these people live in areas that are economically defunct. They don't produce anything. These aren't all farmers. In fact, the tiny minority of them are farmers. A lot of these people are just rotting in dead ends, communities that used to be necessary to support the surrounding farming land, but no longer are. If every rural person could take a train to visit the city, they'd be way less Hitler. Yeah, I agree. But you need to consolidate. In order for trains to work in rural areas, you need to consolidate them into like villages. We need to start building city centers. Nobody builds new cities anymore. You ever notice that? I'm not kidding. Nobody builds new cities. Like, we stopped building new cities. We just build suburbs around existing ones. Nobody builds new city centers. Nobody goes out in the middle of a county. You can do this, by the way. Like, if officials wanted to do this, they could do this. They could just go in the middle of I don't know, let's say Idaho, like off the, off the 90 or whatever. They could go there and they could just find a desolate sort of rural area that has no population and bring people there and found a new city. They can build a new city center, not just a bunch of disconnected houses off the 90 or whatever. They can build a new city with a city core. Yeah, but cities tend to build out from an economic hub like a port or a river. What about an interstate highway like the 90? Ain't that something? Yeah, that's something the UK does well, actually. Even tiny little communities are centralized. Again, like, I really don't think people understand this, but you can get this feel just by like Google Mapsing around for a while or whatever. A German village, like if you look at villages in Europe, like Germany or France or the Slavic countries or whatever, if you go and look at what their rural communities look like, they're consolidated. Again, I know we've done this before, but it's really important to understand the difference, okay? Look at this. And I'm not saying that rural people in these environments don't have a right-wing disposition. They do. But I'm talking about like issues. For me, this is about ensoulment. Human beings are meant to live with other human beings. I think that people are meant to live in communities. And the crazy thing about a lot of American rural developments is that they are not communities. They are literally like one commercial road that has a church on it and maybe like a diner, and then a bunch of disconnected houses, all of which have fallow plots of land that produce nothing. Like, it's farmland, but nobody farms. It's just people just sit there and they drive for an hour and 10 minutes to their job, or they just sit there and they rot. It's really, really common in Europe to find, this is a terrible picture, but work with it. No, you know what? I'm going to find a better picture. That picture is too terrible. I need to find a picture that's less bad. Wow, these pictures are all terrible. How are they all this bad? That's crazy. Okay, whatever. We'll go with this. A lot of villages in Europe have this vibe to them, where you have farm plots that kind of like radiate out from a center town, and all the people live together here. So if you live in any one of these houses, you can like step out of them and you're on a street and there are people around you and there are businesses, and you've got your church. Everyone has a church or whatever. Take a shot every time Vosh Googles a rural European town. People in YouTube chat are being so contrarian. Man, we've done the Google Maps thing. You can literally see it. You can okay? You did this. You stupid piece of shit. You did this, okay? Vosh doesn't get there are so many towns like this in the U.S., Lamau. No, there aren't, buddy. There are in the original 13 colonies, because that was when we had design principles that were similar to the European countries that we came from. But when you go west, the further west you go, the more like that it isn't. You pieces of shit. You have no idea. I'm Charlie Kirk's wife. You have no idea. You have no idea what you've unearthed. You have no idea. All right. Welcome to France. Too big. I often hear this. Even this. Centralized development. This is quite rural, by the way. This is not like a city, all right? Look at this shit. How many people live here? Like 100? Maybe? Look at this, okay? Centralized, concentrated development, okay? This is very rural, all right? But if you live here, you live in a community. You walk outside, people to your left, people to your right. I think that one of the reasons American ruraloids are so bad is because a lot of them live in like fully blighted environments. And I don't just mean poverty. There are lots of poor countries. Greece is a poor country where you can see a lot of lively community spirit. You know, if you go to Greece, you don't need to just stick to Athens or whatever. You can just find like a tiny little communities, and you can, look right there. This is a poor country, concentrated development. People here live in like a neighborhood. Here, let's go off the water. Everyone likes the water in Greece, right? A little too big, maybe. But the point is, like, this country is not wealthy. Greece does not have a lot of money. Far less money than America has. Even in these environments, okay? Even in rural America, the per capita GDP is much higher than in all of Greece, okay? But a lot of these communities are literally like 1,000 years old. So they used to build their villages before people had cars. They built their villages back when if you wanted to go to the next town over, you had to walk or take a horse or whatever. They hadn't even invented horses yet, probably. I don't know. Did they have horses 2,000 years ago in Greece? Maybe. I haven't seen Alexander the Great in a horse. I haven't seen Alexander the Great at all because he's been dead for a while. Yes? All right. Well, maybe they did invent horses by then. That's not my problem, okay? You go over to Spain. Remember when we looked at Spain before? Look at that. This is exactly what I mean, man, okay? You look around, even in the rural areas, I cannot overstate how poor these communities are, okay? These are not wealthy little like tourist destinations, at least not all of them, okay? I don't know every little town and village. Look at this. Do you think this right here, Mayorga, is like a Spanish, like, oh, all the wealthy German and British tourists come over here and they dump money into the community? No. This community has probably been here for quite a while, okay? I'm going to guess, I don't know, it's Spain. Maybe it's been here 500, 600, 800 years. I have no idea. But look at the design, okay? This is not a wealthy area. Not at all. Look. But you know what can exist here? Community. Community can exist here. People can have neighbors. People can have like genuine social dynamics. People can fall in love with each other. People can find jobs. Well, it's Europe. I don't know how often they work here. They have their siestas. Bars and windows. Yeah, it's a poor area. This is my point. Wealth is not the gatekeep, okay? The gatekeep is the design. The problem is that these communities here, which were built in line with the traditions of the pre-car city, are built at the human level, okay? They're built at the human level. You can go all over Europe and find this shit, all over it. Look at Yorkshire in the UK. I'm not going to look at Yorkshire because I don't know where the that is, okay? But if I go over to any place in the United Kingdom, what about Nateby? Oh, look at that. Centralized development, okay? Look at that. See? Farm plots, which you can see here, I assume, or maybe they're just lawns. I don't really know. The grass, the environment, is radiating out from the central core. The central core is the social nugget. It's the environment. It's the place where people convene, where they get together. It's the place where humanity happens, okay? This is the Starbucks. This is the ensoulment. The desoulment happens when you live in isolated plots of land. Imagine if, rather than this existing, imagine if every single person who lived here was instead distributed across an area 100 times the square mileage in properties that every single one of them looked like this. That's America. West of the 13 colonies, overwhelmingly, that is what people who live in rural environments are like in America. That is the vibe. We're looking at America right now. If you compare a small, older U.S. town like Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, yeah, original 13 colonies, man. Here, look. You can see it's like this in the rest of the world, too. America has really, really, really bad urban design. This shouldn't be controversial to anybody who watches this channel. Check planning in Cairo, you might get a stroke. You're not understanding the point I'm making here. This is something that needs to be done to make rural life in America less abysmal. Okay? It's not just about wealth. It's not just about jobs. It's about the fact that we did not design these places to operate as independent social and economic entities. We design these places in the periphery to highways. We design these places to be like broad farming communities. Or in many cases, we didn't design them at all. They were the product of homesteading. Because for a ton of property over here in the West, the government wanted to settle it quickly and kill all the Indians. So they said, hey, here are plots of land. First one to get it, gets it. Go on, get. And a bunch of people just went and settled plots of land. Everyone got 40 acres or whatever. These weren't communities. People were homesteading. We go over to Connecticut. Actually, this looks like absolute ass. So I was trying to make a point that the colonies, the original colonies, had like better. That's probably not an old development. Oh, Salem. I've heard of this place. Probably not the real. Oh, this still looks like ass. Never mind. All of America is garbage. Oh, Idaho. Do, 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 do. Jesus. In a lot of America, the purpose of the local quote-unquote village is not residential. The purpose is it's the local commercial, educational, and religious space. So people live scattered about the place, and they drive over to the nearest, like, elementary school or whatever. You know, they'll drive 20 or 30 minutes to their grocery store. But it doesn't serve as, like, a shared area to live in. This counts as a town? Oh, that's off the reservation. Okay. That doesn't look too bad. Roads are too big, but that doesn't look too bad. A lot of the original core structure of villages and cities were also destroyed during the car craze of the 50s, right? Yeah, well, usually it depends on how close you are to the highway. I was talking about the 90 earlier. A lot of these places right off the 90 exist as these kind of, ugh. See, even here, the American obsession with the property size, at least it's residential. Rural Vermont is still really nice. Well, it's Vermont. Everyone in chat wants me to go to, like, the village they escaped when they were young. It's crazy, but there are genuinely, like, there are so many Americans who live in places like this. The crazy thing is, they're not always poor, either. Like, a lot of them have enough money to maintain these properties. They're just, like, sitting on inherited wealth. Do they even have internet? They have Starlink, maybe. Wait, does anyone know what town Bernie Sanders visited in that More Perfect Union video? That's the last thing that I'm going to look at. Does anyone know? It was in West Virginia? Well, I know that. Wheeling? Is it in Wheeling? Okay, one second. An actual town, you know, maybe. Ugh. Does this even have a core? Is this the core? Churches. This must be the core. It looks fine. Wait till you see the street view. Ah, we do have some historical buildings and a modern refurbishment. How beautiful. For me personally, I would consider this to be like the heart. This is the soul of the problem, right? The core of the American village is hollowed out and turns into a commuter destination for the people who live in the area. You know, if you look at the core of a village in Spain or in Greece or whatever, the core is like a densely populated area where people live. Here, this is a place where people park. You don't even see a human. And you know what? This used to be that. See this historical building right here? There used to be one right here. I guarantee it. I'm telling you, historical building, there used to be one right here, and there used to be one here, and there's one right there, and it goes down there, and this used to be a bustling main street. I guarantee it. 100%. If you find photos of Wheeling, West Virginia from like 1957 or something, I bet you this area looks pretty well to do. That's so sad. It really is. It really, truly, genuinely is. Yeah, and I feel bad for the people who have to live through this. I just wish they would stop voting to kill me. I'm not voting to kill them. When I reluctantly vote for Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, this is not a vote that is contained within it is my, like, desire to see these people's lives worsened. I'm just trying to get through the century, man. Okay? Wheeling in the 1950s. Oh my God. Is this Wheeling, West Virginia? This isn't Wheeling, Ohio? Because this is the, do we know this is the right city? It's Ohio County. Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Look at that. Doesn't it break your heart? 1959. But that's Ohio. Nope. This is the same town we were just looking at. Might be within a few blocks of where we're looking at. In fact, it probably is. It's not a huge town. Find the street. It's Market Street. It's Market Street. We're on 14th right now, okay? Market Street. Where's Market? There's Market Street. Here's Market Street. There you go, buddy. Congratulations. Yeah, it's just the cross street that we were at. Here's Market Street. Bet you we can even find the same signs if we want to. It says Sportsman's right down here. I don't know what direction we're facing. Victoria Theater? Right there. Victoria Theater. Right there. 1959. Parade on Market Street. Victoria Theater right here. Taken in June of 2023. Now keep in mind, man, West Virginia has gone through some difficult economic times. Nobody is denying this. But there are communities in France, Spain, and Greece that have gone through worse times and didn't have this happen to them. Spain, Greece, these are not wealthy countries, okay? I guarantee you that if you take a look at the wealth curve in West Virginia relative to the wealth curve in Greece over the past century, this did not have to happen. There are parts of the world that looked like this, had an economic crisis, and then continued to look like this. Just, more dilapidated. Obviously, it didn't get a fresh paint job, but what about the former coal towns in England that are rotting now? What about them? I mean, my point is being made either way, right? Listen, cities are economically productive in and of themselves. You don't need coal or oil. Does New York's wealth rely on extractive industries? Is every city in the United States reliant on the local fish or lumber? Maybe like 100 or 200 or 300 years ago, that might have been the case for most cities. But nowadays, cities are autonomously economically productive. All it takes is good policy. So not doing this. Jesus. You need people. You need time. You need care. You need investment. Oh, sorry. I've depressed myself. Historical buildings, man. Oh, we didn't even look. Right to our left, man. We didn't even look. They turned it into a parking lot. By the way, this is happening all over the United States. It has been happening since the 1960s, where historical cores downtown are hollowed out so more people can drive down there because more people live further and further from the city core, okay? If New Jerseyites had their way, half the buildings in Manhattan would be parking lots. You cannot cede downtown to the suburbanite. The suburbanite is the enemy of the town, okay? Do you also think it's a cultural issue? To an extent, yeah. American extravagance, the obsession with buying cars and putting mortgaging the house for it. Who could ever live in a place that looks like this, man? Look at these parking lots. This used to be a thriving town. Do not believe people when they say that coal drying up is what did this to West Virginia. Because again, there are poor countries all over the world that did not allow an economic downturn to then gut every single one of their communities. It just led to people being poor, which sucks. I mean, that's bad. We need multi-core polycentric cities. Yes, we need cities with cores that are close enough to each other that people can walk to them. It's actually one of the reasons I really like Seattle. Seattle has a lot of city cores, so no matter where you are, unless you're in like Soto or something, you're usually pretty close to a cool place to be. Shopping malls did this? Well, shopping malls tried to, but there are problems with them. For one, they're huge and ugly and everyone drives to them. You don't walk to a shopping mall. For two, they're not like an organic, changing, developing part of the city's natural fabric, and you can't really appreciate them from the distance. They're just a box with shops in them. Outdoor shopping malls are better than indoor shopping malls, to be sure. But also, there's not really much to do there unless you have money. By the way, Wheeling is like the 3rd or 4th largest city in West Virginia. Yeah, we're grading on a curve here, you know? Dog, look at my city skylines build. Martin's Ferry. Yum yum. I love my historic city cores with no one here. For sale. Dollar General. Ah, there we go. One of the biggest companies in the United States. How much did COVID make this worse? Dog, COVID didn't even touch this shit. That's like, I don't know, asking how much a downward gust of wind affected the trajectory of a bowling ball that's been falling for 6 minutes off a plane, you know? Maybe it helped, I don't know. Sorry, I know I'm going on about this point, but I cannot overstate how much of the sickness in this country stems from poor planning decisions from the onset. Not even the onset, because West Virginian cities were not poorly planned a century ago. They were poorly replanned. Wheeling University. People go to university in West Virginia. That's crazy. New Philadelphia. Well, that's a little bit optimistic. Jesus Christ. How can anyone walk anywhere when this is how you build your neighborhoods? How can anyone walk anywhere when this is how you build your neighborhoods? Jesus Christ. De-urbanization was a response to desegregation? Yep. And in case you feel too bad for these people, keep in mind, white flight is one of the biggest reasons why America looks like this. American cities were well designed in the 40s and 50s, but when the Second World War ended, you had a lot of black people who had gotten used to working in the factories, labor shortages, black soldiers coming back home. White people were like, holy shit, I don't want to live with them. And they fled to communities that were 40 minutes out of the city core. Racism has driven the white race to self-wound time and time and time again. Always at the behest of capital owners. Always, always. Anytime a wealthy man comes along and tells black people to eat their own shit because a black man might get an upset stomach watching, they do so. Oh my God! That's so much parking lot per church. And if you want to know why small town America is dead, how could any mom and pop shop possibly survive off of the street traffic in an area where it takes 10 minutes to walk down a block? Can you imagine operating a cafe here? Oh yeah, we're just serving coffee to the people on the morning commute. How many customers are you going to get a day? 3? There's a reason why pop-up coffee shops these days tend to be in parking lots. They're like those mobile ones. You know what I'm talking about? But to bring it all back, and again, I have to remind you, the GDP per capita of this area, even adjusted for stuff like domestic construction costs, okay? The GDP per capita here is greater than what we're about to look at in France. France is a wealthy country. I'm just going to choose a random community. I chose a random community. The GDP per capita in the town that we just looked at in West Virginia is probably significantly higher. And yet, I don't know. This isn't even that great. I would rather live here. It's not about the money. It's about the decisions you make, laying everything out. Actually, yeah, I don't even like this that much. It's just much more beautiful. It's almost unfair. Like, the reason I like it more is like it not even necessarily down to urban planning. Let me see if I can find something like of comparable size. How about here? That's larger. That's larger. Sunny day. The sunny day definitely helps. Weather's good over there by the Mediterranean. That's too small. Look in northern France. I'm just trying to find something comparable to the town of West Virginia we just looked at. Okay, could you operate a coffee shop here? Well, look at that. There's your answer, folks. Nice cuff on this. I guarantee you this place is far poorer than the West Virginian town we just came from. But here, you could run a business. You can have an autonomous economic development here. Look at this. This is just a random... And yeah, it's poor, dude. This is not wealth we're looking at. But it is human. It's community. It's dirty, yeah. But the crime rate here is significantly lower than it is in West Virginia. That's a guarantee. 100%. Much more economically vibrant. You can walk around outside. You can visit people. You can see your neighbors. And this is rural. Well, not rural, but it's certainly as rural, at least, as the West Virginian town that we just looked at. And if you want to go and see the beautiful wilderness, buddy, you're not far, because it's not infinite sprawl. You just go up a mile on the road, up the hill. I don't know what exactly I expected to find here. It's not like I know this town. It is pretty, though. Sorry, dude, I can't even stream for long today. Like, this isn't even meant to be a long stream. Every time I open up Google Maps, it turns into this. Every damn time. We didn't lose viewers that entire time. That's actually awesome. Hey, listen, urban planning is huge, okay? It's literally Marxism. Material conditions, all right? Much in the same way that people in urban environments and rural environments are going to develop different perspectives on the world, because you're more likely to be isolated, paranoid, reclusive, xenophobic if you just live in a hut in the middle of the woods, right? Than if you're living in a bustling city where you're seeing other people and experiencing other cultures. Like, this is a bedrock issue. I take it very seriously. And one of the reasons I go in the whole ruroid rants or whatever, and I think it's particularly bad, is because we are through our patronizing dialogue, we are allowing this sickness to fester. We need to re-urbanize, and we need to establish new city cores. Vosh, you've just been repeating yourself for the last 45 minutes, super boring. You're not wrong. Unfortunately, you are going to be punished for it. You're totally correct. Like, you're 100% on the mark.